Hi guys, it's Kim. I'm back again with another weekly Flosstube update. This is video number 47 and today is the 16th of December 2019. We only have 9 days left to Christmas and a couple weeks left of 2019 before 2020 is upon us. So I hope everybody is doing well. It is Jane Austen's birthday, so I have my Obstinate Headstrong Girl shirt on. And as you'll see in my plans, I'm going to stitch on my Jane Austen-esque whip today as well. So, last week in the School of Magical Stitches and Literature, our homework was all about, like, these past few weeks is all about the travels and adventures that Ron, Hermione, and Harry are going through. So they all seem a little similar in title, but the tasks are all a little bit different. And one of the tasks that, since I had already stitched some of the tasks last week when I made my video, the couple I had left, the first one was a piece that you have a deadline on, or that you have a goal on, because they were rushing to find that last Horcrux before Voldemort did. So work on a piece that you're trying to get done. And so I worked on Pretty Little Paris by Satsuma Street, and then I also used it for the homework task of a piece that you haven't frogged for Neville's Toad. So 700 stitches. I did the floor underneath Notre Dame, and this is going to be, I think, the arch, and then the Sacre-Cœur is going to be up here, and then the Pont Neuf. I started on that. The design does not have each arch of the bridge symmetrical, so each arch is a little bit different. So I started on that. You notice my fabric borders are close on this. This was just a scrap piece of 28 count Monaco dyed that I had left, so I'm making it work. I'll probably sew this into a bag of some sort, so my fabric borders aren't that big. But I'm loving how it looks on the gray. Still don't know if I'll get it done this year. I am not planning on using it for homework this week. I don't know. I might stitch on it after I finish homework this week. So there we go. I had something else that came up this week instead of working more on that one. And then for the task of twin cores, because Voldemort's wand and Harry's wand share a core, you had to work on two whips that were related to each other and explain how you link them together. And I was working on both my Randall Spangler pieces, Trick or Treat and Sunday Delight. So here is Sunday Delight. I only planned to work on this one for one task, but I ended up flip-flopping my whips for the bonus task, which was to work on either a whip that has a dragon in it, or that the title of the design starts with a letter in the word dragon. I was going to use Trick or Treat for that since I work on it every single day, but I ended up using Trick or Treat for the movie extra credit tasks, where you watch the movie and stitch it at the same time, because that's all one color and it's at night after my girls go to bed. When I watched the movies, it was real easy to whip out a lot of stitches as I was watching the movies. And so I did the bonus task on Sunday Delight. So I got 810 stitches for those two tasks on this page down here, where it's like the dragon leg. I already had the banana done, the bowl, and this first little bit of ice cream of the sundae. So I got those 800 stitches in, and I haven't worked on this piece very much at all this year. And it really got me into the piece. And I'm like, you know what? My goal on this piece was one page for 2019 anyways. And I'm getting pretty close. And it would feel really good to get a page finish for December besides the equivalent of a page finish on Trick or Treat. So get a real page finish, meet my goal for the piece. And I was feeling the full coverage anyways. I wanted to work on Sunday Delight rather than Pretty Little Paris. And so after I finished my homework, I just kept going. And I have put in over this is after the homework, 2,500 tent stitches after the 800 homework. So I put in a lot. It's going to look a lot different. I am this close to getting the page done. One more day's worth of effort, you know, getting those, since I do cross country by color, I'm at that stage where you're getting the onesie twosie stitches all over that, you know, they're important because they add detail and shading and things like that, but it takes longer to put them in. So there I am. So the banana is done. The dragon for this page, the dragon is done. Everything up that's just going up into the next page. The bowl is coming together. You know, at first the blue that I was putting in didn't look exactly right, but it's the shaded part because the bowl obviously has a curve to it, and it's a darker area right here over the banana. You have the zigzag on the bowl, and you can see where the scoops of ice cream and the sundae, you know, the chocolate on the sundae is coming down. So I'm going to get you closer. So you can see how it's all coming together, but there definitely is a lot of colors in there. But it's really, I mean, there's onesie twosie colors in here, some onesie twosie colors all up in there, and that's it. But with all the, and there's some of this is white under my finger that you can't really see, but then there's other areas where it's more colors. So I couldn't squeeze it in and get it done today for the video, but in the next day or two, I'm going to have this done. Because I just might, since it's only one day's worth, I might delay my homework after today and just get this done and then do the rest of my homework. So that's Sunday Delight. Really delighted with that progress. Crack myself up. And then the only other whip that I worked on this week, because I put so much into Sunday Delight, and then just one day on Pretty Little Paris, it was Sunday Delight and Trick or Treat the whole rest of the week. I told you that I watched the movie and worked on Trick or Treat. Watch the movie is being generous. I, you know, let it play and I glance over, but I was mostly stitching and listening to it. So because there's two different movies, Deathly Hallows is divided into two different movies. I did just in the, you know, 2.5 hours of each movie or so, 2 to 2.5 hours, I did 725 tent stitches one night and 700 stitches the next. So I have exceeded my normal 2,000 stitches a week on this one, and I've got over 2,400 because there was other nights where I was working hard on Sunday Delight, so I didn't work as much on Trick or Treat. Anyways, it's a give and take. So I have finished by the numbers 2,400 on Trick or Treat. Let me show you the design. Even though most of my viewers know what it looks like. I'm doing extreme cross country, all the black. And when I saw you last week, I was in the black right here by the front doors and, you know, bringing this roof line over. And I know there's some people among you that were doubting that I could get a row finish by the end of the month. I haven't got it yet, but you'll see how close I am. So by the numbers 2,400 is done. So both my by the numbers are done for December. So I'm done for by the numbers for the year. I have stitched for the quarter for the 90-day challenge in Full Coverage Phonetics. I have done 23,800 tent stitches so far. And you'll see where I'm at for the row. Ta-da! All I have left in this row is the trees. So there's the whole piece. Make sure you're... There you go. So I was right around here, and then 2,400 stitches, got all this done, and there's the page break, my little blue mark right there. So I worked on this last night and a little bit the night before to bring that up. And it's just going to be chipping away at it. This is the top of the tree because I had brought it up over here. So for that page, that's where I'm headed for. So that's how much I have left. So as I go up, it'll progressively get skinnier and easier. Unlike that one, that's pretty much the same width all the way across. This one is going to get skinnier until it gets to, I think it's only like 11 stitches across. So I will keep working away at that. Hopefully by next week, I will have the row finish and we'll be starting to work on the row above. So there you go. There's Trick or Treat by Randall Spangler. Okay. Oh, I forgot to mention Sunday Delight. I already worked on it today for this week's homework in the School of Magical Stitches. The task I used was the first task in that particular chapter. I forgot what chapter number it is, but that's when they return to Hogsmeade and they meet Aberforth. They learn about his the Dumbledore family story with all the siblings, and so there's sibling rivalry between Aberforth and Albus. And also they meet Neville coming through the portrait of Ariana. So the task is either to work on a whip that's like a friendly face that you're always happy to see again, or something that you really don't want to work on, but you need to. So kind of like sibling rivalry. So I worked on Sunday Delight for that one because it really is making me happy and it's just a fun design. So I already did my 410 stitches on that one today, this morning, and I was hoping to get the page finished, but I didn't. So we'll get that in the next day or two. The second task, because they go looking for the diadem in the Room of Requirement. The diadem is engraved with the phrase, "Wit beyond measure is man's greatest treasure." So the task is to work on a whip that you think is witty or demonstrates wit and explain why. And for that one, I am going to work on my Jane Austen type piece, which is a summer ball. So I will work on this today because it is her birthday. Cross Stitch Arts is the designer. You can get this design if you go to their Patreon site. They also have a Facebook page. I don't think it's one of the ones that you can buy off their Facebook page. So I'll show this to you since you haven't seen it recently. I'm on page 3. So I'll have to do 200 on this one. Let me make sure you're focusing. So there's the current page. I don't know if I'll work more on the yellow dress or if I'll take it up and work up here. I haven't gridded up here yet just because this is just slightly too tall for an 11 by 11 Q-snap. So I still have to do a couple lines across the gridding up there. So I'll either get that done and work on the top or work more on her yellow dress, 200 stitches. So that is for the second task. The third task was a coin flip because McGonagall and Snape duel in the castle, and so our headmistress Vicky was doing an electronic coin flip in each house, and you'll to see which you had to pick a whip that related to each of the characters, and then whatever side of the coin was flipped for your house, that's what you have to work on. I was going to work on Trick or Treat for McGonagall because there are, I think, like 3 black cats in the piece. And then for Professor Snape, I chose, which is what Ravenclaw will be stitching on for Professor Snape, Beauty and the Beast 2017, because I'm saying this is Lily and that's Snape. Not many people liked him, but she saw through to, who he really was, and she was friends with him until, he became a Death Eater. So I'm going to work on Beauty and the Beast. I thought I was done with this piece this month because I am using it for Winter Wonder in Full Coverage Fanatics, the monthly theme. But I said, unless I need to use it for homework, well, what do you know? I'm using it for 3 tasks this week. So this will be Professor Snape. I'm also using it for task 4 is stitch in the particular color, excuse me, that relates to a jewel that would be in your diadem. I like sapphires. I have sapphires in my wedding ring. So I'm going to be working in blue for sapphires on Beauty and the Beast. And then task 5, because Nagini is the last Horcrux, and she was a woman back in time. If you've seen the Fantastic Beast movies, then stitch on a piece that has a snake or a woman. So Beauty and the Beast will get 1,210 stitches for 600 full cross stitches. So 1,200 stitches on the next page, which is mostly boring background. But hey, it has to be done. And you saw this last week, I think. So I'll be working on this page and we'll get 1,200 more stitches in there. So it's a good thing I haven't posted my progress on the Winter Wonder Sal yet, just in case I had to use it again. Just in case. The other thing I know I'm going to work on at some point in the next 2 weeks is Big Red Ship. I don't know if I'll work on that this week or if I'll work on Pretty Little Paris to try to get closer to a finish on that one. As I showed you a couple weeks ago, I don't have much to do on Big Red Ship for this month to get that page done. I do have a few things that came in the mail. I'm going to be starting, this is the other option, I might be starting the Familiar Sal from Ingleside Imaginarium this week from Brittany. I told you I was waiting on fabric, and the fabric did indeed come about 6:30 that night. Like the 5th time the mail truck drove by. I ordered 2 different fabrics knowing that I could use whichever one I didn't choose on a different design. So I ordered 32 count Lugana, both in Murky, and this one is Heritage. And because I think Brittany used the linen, and so I didn't know if I would like the Murky Lugana, just because, you know, fabrics dye differently, and I've used Murky before in a linen though. So I wanted to see what the Lugana looked like and do a floss toss, and I thought that this might be a good second option. But after the floss toss, I am going to be using the Murky on the Familiar Sal. And so we'll just save the Heritage for something else in the future. The other thing I also ordered was one of the 2 fancy flosses for the Familiar Sal, which is Gentle Arts Butter Crunch. Different shades of orange and gold. And when it got here, I was like, that looks kind of familiar. So I pulled out the unlabeled orange floss of my grandmother's that I'm using in Witchy Tea Time by, is that the Primitive Hair? That's in that Just Cross Stitch magazine. And I don't know if I have enough of this to finish the design. And when you lay them on top, they're pretty close. There is a little more darker orange in the unlabeled. But I'm thinking that I will be very careful where I use this up and keep it all in one section. And if I run out of it in a different section on the piece, I can order another skein of Butter Crunch, since this will be saved for Familiar Sal. I can order another skein and use this on the piece, but not like directly next to it where you'd be able to see it easily. So thank you, Brittany, for inadvertently helping me with that. So again, they're pretty close. Focus. So I think if they're on the design, not directly next to each other, they would complement each other. So And then the other thing that I got was something I told you about. I ordered the Once Upon a Fairy Tale zipper pouch from Society 6. Is interesting. I've never gotten a zipper pouch for them. It is like a canvas material. But the zipper is a heavy duty, cheaper zipper, and it doesn't always zip easily, as you can see. And it doesn't, you kind of got to push down to zip it all the way. So it was interesting. I'm glad I ordered it. I don't think I'll be ordering any more. And this is smaller than a regular 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, so it can hold the smaller cross-stitch designs. Or if I, folded my paper in half, I could fit it in here for a project bag. Or I just might use it around the house for something that's completely not stitchy related. There are, on one of the, it did have, like those big annoying tags that you get on mattresses? It had one of those. But on the other side, there are, you're not going to be able to see it because it's black. You can see it a little bit. There's one bigger flat pocket here, and then two skinny flat pockets on either side. I don't know what you'd want to, you might be able to throw some bobbins in there, but depending on how much you throw this around, they may just come out and be loose in the package. But it was interesting. Okay, let's see. The other stitching related things that I have to talk about. I did join a new group called the Mythological Stitchers Challenge. The admins are Adele from Adele Cat Stitches and Sarah Shears. And they were inspired by all the stitching challenge groups this year. But they wanted to have something that was still themed, but less pressure. You're not competing for points. You're not, so you're not trying to earn points. You're not being pressured to absolutely do an exact number of stitches. So you can participate without counting your stitches if you want to. You can read or watch movies that relate to the topic or to the theme for each month. And it's all like mythology and folklore. So as an example, January is vampires in ancient Egypt, and they have a really good explanation as to how the two relate in one of their events. So one of the events is about Sekhmet, who is I don't want to say character, a person in ancient Egypt, and there's a whole, big paragraph, so you can learn about Sekhmet. And the task in that SAL is to work on a piece that is, related to ancient Egypt. So of course I'm going to be working on Supersized Color Expansion Museum shelf in January for that one. And then they have, let me look at my notes. They have some weekly challenges in January that they've already put up just so that you can get an idea of what the challenges are. They are not going to make a practice of preloading their challenges. So one is about more related towards the Twilight series, should vampires sparkle? And for that you can do 300 stitches on a piece that has something sparkly in it. You don't have to do actual stitching on with the sparkly stuff, or something that doesn't if you're, more thinking that vampires shouldn't sparkle. And then the bonus is, are you Team Edward or Team Jacob, and stitch in warm colors versus cold colors accordingly. But again, if you don't want to count your stitches, you can still participate and stitch on those things. However much progress you get is fine. Another challenge in the month of January is to watch TVs, movies, read a book, or listen to an audiobook that's about vampires or ancient Egypt, and just put a post in the event to tell everybody about it. So, this was crap show, or I like this about it, didn't like that, or I really recommend this book. that kind of thing. So you're not in it for points, you're in it to share what you've done, share what you've learned, if it was interesting or if it just isn't worth your time. Another weekly challenge, it was for Osiris, because Osiris in ancient Egypt pictorials has green skin. So stitch on a piece with green in it. You don't have to stitch in the green. And then the third weekly that they put up for us to see is about True Blood. And they talked about the difference between drinking the synthetic True Blood versus real blood. And, you know, you can make the decision which one would you do if you were a vampire, and stitch accordingly to the characteristics of the, you know, God, it's been so long since I watched the show. Eric, who drank the real blood, and his characteristics versus, I forgot his name, main character who drank the True Blood instead of the real blood, and was involved with Sookie. So just interesting things to, again, and I plan on trying to use my full coverage whips and my own personal goals to double and triple count for as many challenges and sales as I can. So full coverage fanatics, that's gonna be my primary, because I want to get that full coverage progress done. And then what I'm using for those, if I can attribute them to the mythological stitching challenges, or to the like the team building challenges or the individual stitching challenges that were released 2 days ago in Magical Stitches for the Disney theme stuff, I'm going to double or triple count those items. I'm gonna try not to focus as strictly on I need 200 stitches on that, 200 stitches on that, 200 stitches on that, all in space of 1 week. Working on Sunday Delight this week to get to a page finish, it was a little difficult to change my mindset of not wasting my stitches that I've been in all year, where I'm trying to earn as many points as possible. So 2020 will be more about meeting my own personal goals and just attributing those stitches to different events and challenges where and when I can. Okay, that's it for the stitching stuff. Real quickly, because there's not much to it anyways, my Air Force story is about the second barrier engagement that I did when I was deployed. It was 2 weeks after the first. We went to a base that was actually one of our stops when we made the first trip. So it was a base we'd already been to, not as dangerous as the first place. We got up there just fine, and unlike the first time, plans actually worked out, and instead of getting a jet to come in after a combat mission and then sending it back on a combat mission, we got a jet that was not part of the day's combat taskings at all. So it had no munitions on it, which, makes it safer for everybody, just in case a fluke happens. It still had external fuel tanks. And instead of a pilot and a weapons system officer, it had a pilot and a high-ranking British Air Force officer who was there for a, not really an incentive ride, but like an orientation ride, because he was going to have a prominent job at the base that we were from. And so just to kind of give him more of a feel of what they do and places they're going, and so he could see different things. So it was a British Air Commodore, which I think is the equivalent of a 1 or 2 star general in the United States Air Force. So that was exciting to catch the jet, as we say, and find out that you have a British Air Commodore who is with you as you do the barrier certification. While we were waiting, I think it was after the plane and after we had done the barrier certification, and we were waiting to find out when we could get a ride back to our base, airlift. And so we had a 15-passenger van, and I was driving with my Master Sergeant in the passenger seat. and all the rest of the, the lower ranking guys were behind us driving around this base because there was 2 different places that had food. And of course, like the Army side had better food, so we were trying to drive and find where it is so we can get some better food than just the chow hall. And I got pulled over by the wing safety lieutenant colonel on the base. I wasn't doing anything wrong, so I rolled down the window and like, good afternoon, sir. What can I do for you? And he said, do you think you could have your guys buckle up? And so I was totally surprised because I knew my pro super was buckled up. I certainly was buckled up. You don't understand, when you're on base, you follow every single rule. There's like in base housing right here, the speed limit is 15 miles an hour. And by God, you pay attention to that because you don't want to be pulled over by security forces. So I assure the lieutenant colonel I'll have him buckle up, and I get him out so I can talk to my guys. And I turn around and without thinking, I'm like, are you guys effing serious? Like, how could you not have buckled? I didn't know that the 8 guys behind me hadn't buckled up. And so I'm not one that loses my temper or swears that much, especially, when I was a lieutenant and still learning things. And they were taken aback. They certainly buckled their seatbelts. And a few days later, when we got back to the base, and it was after Mother's Day, I did not have children at this point. And one of the staff sergeants asked my captain, he said, do you think the lieutenant would get pissed at me if I wished her a happy Mother's Day? And this was like the day after Mother's Day. And the captain, being prior enlisted and full of himself and, an arrogant guy, said, you don't have a hair on your butt if you don't say that. And so the staff sergeant came out and he's like, LT, I'm sorry. I forgot to wish you a happy Mother's Day yesterday. And the whole, it was because I was acting like a mother. Like, are you serious? You're not buckled up. Anyways, have a good stitching week, guys. I'll see you later. Bye.